Now, shifting focus to the United States, former U.S. President Donald Trump has called on the country's Supreme Court to review a Colorado ruling that bars him from the state's ballot over his role in January 6, 2021 Capitol attack. And Trump has also appealed a similar decision by Maine's Democratic Secretary of State. If the ruling is allowed to stand, it will be the first time in the history of the U.S. that the judiciary has prevented voters from casting ballots for the leading major party presidential candidate. The Colorado Supreme Court had ruled last month that Trump is ineligible to appear on the primary ballot because of the U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment. Now, what does it say? Section 3 of the 14th Amendment bars anyone from holding public office if they engage in quote-unquote insurrection or rebellion, and this after once pledging to support and defend the Constitution. And lawyers for the former Republican president have asked the Supreme Court to agree to hear the case and quote-unquote reverse the court's ruling.
The U.S. Supreme Court is especially significant because the nation's highest court has never before ruled in a case involving Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. That's a Civil War era provision that says that if you swore an oath to support the Constitution and then engaged in insurrection, you no longer are qualified for office.
And similar 14th Amendment challenges to Trump's eligibility have been filed in other states as well. Courts in Minnesota and Michigan recently ruled that Trump should stay on the ballot in those states. Now, Maine and Colorado contests to elect their party presidential nominees on March 5th, which is also known as Super Tuesday, and when voters in more than a dozen states, including California and Texas, go to the polls. For more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. Take a listen.
Because last night our campaign won.
Well, as anticipated, the Colorado case now reaches the U.S. Supreme Court, where it has a 6-3 conservative majority. 3 of those judges were appointed by former President Donald Trump himself. Now we'll have to wait and see whether the Supreme Court will accept this case and intervene, and how long it would take if it will issue a ruling. One scenario may be that the Supreme Court does intervene and ultimately doesn't vote on the primary, but the general elections that may be able to be applied to other states which are in the similar situation as Colorado as well. The Supreme Court's central role in Trump's legal cases has drawn comparison to the 2000 election, where the Supreme Court had a pivotal 5-4 ruling, putting an end to the Florida recount between Republican George W. Bush and his Democrat rival Al Gore, in which George Bush became the U.S. president. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.